the Korean Zombie, he got back in the win column against Dan Ige a few months back. Many thought we saw evolution in him with him mixing in the grappling and slowing the fight down and winning rounds. Do you think the Brian Ortega loss was the best thing that happened to him?
I certainly do because Korean Zombie's been on such a trajectory, not only in the rankings but also in the fans' eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that carries him a long way. Is people love to watch him fight. He's got a reputation for having really awesome, exciting fights where he takes lots of risks and usually makes his opponents pay. Because he's in the pocket. The Moicano fight's one of my favorite knockouts where he just kind of hangs right inside boxing range and catches him with the counter. I think his approach with Brian Ortega was just a little bit too reckless for the opponent, and I think the fact that Ortega's got such good guillotines was also one thing that kept the fight in striking range, even when Korean Zombie wasn't having a lot of success. It was almost like he didn't have the option to adapt. But I think what we have to realize is when he made his UFC debut, he won by a twister. He's got really good grappling skills, and you've got to think they've improved over the years. I think Brian Ortega is a difficult opponent to figure out, and I think he'd also grown a lot from the Max Holloway loss. So it was almost like Korean Zombie got a better version of Brian Ortega that he may not have expected. The Brian Ortega that fought Holloway, Zombie might have beaten him up pretty good, but this was a different version. So it's a beautiful thing, isn't it? It's the knock-on effect. One guy gets better, who makes the other guy better, and so on and so forth. And I think Korean Zombie's got potential everywhere. And the performance against Dan Ige shows that he is thinking about improvement and trying to round out his game a bit more.
Yeah, incredible to kind of get away from that brawler mentality, that brawler stigma is probably the best thing for him, especially when you reach that top echelons of the division and be able, and you have to win fights, not just finish guys.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. People remember the finishes because they're the things that go viral. You'll see wild clips from his from his fight against Leonard Garcia back in the day, and that's kind of what you expect from him. And I do think that sometimes fighters kind of get locked in with their nickname. Like look at Darren Elkins, for example. He's got the damage tattooed across his chest. There's no way he's going to be a sharp counter striker. It's just he's already decided his brand. And I think maybe the Korean Zombie, the idea of fighting like a zombie, as it maybe played in and worked against him a little bit because he's a very sharp individual. He's a very smart counter striker, and I think because he's willing to get hit, he puts himself in positions where he can counter much better than other fighters. I just think it's decision making where he needs to continue to improve, but we're seeing that. We've seen that already.